I'm not sure where Boston goes from here. However, and I'm not sure these two will agree with me, I think if you look at this trade in a vacuum, that Danny Ainge did the right thing. I don't think, given what Anthony Davis said, where he wanted to be for a one-year rental with Kyrie presumably leaving, that you give up everything for a player like Anthony Davis to come and play for 1 year, particularly if he did not want to be there. Now, I think we look back at Paul George and potentially an opportunity missed by Danny Ainge and the Celtics there. You look at Kawhi Leonard, and with all of that combined, it seems like, gosh, once again, you have all of these assets and all of these opportunities, and you don't get the job done of a player that you have been coveting for a very long time. However, I don't think, given what the Lakers gave up, the deal that David Griffin got, I don't think that was a situation that Danny Ainge should have necessarily tried to top that. And I am not even certain. The thing is, Jayson Tatum is a piece here that we all continue to talk about, not putting him in it. I'm not certain that even adding Jayson Tatum in would have been a better deal than what the Lakers had on the table.
So I actually agree with you. And this is the case with the Danny Ainge almost moves. In a vacuum, all of them are justifiable to not make them. In a vacuum, are we going to include Jaylen Brown for Kawhi Leonard? Man, Jaylen Brown showed us a little bit his first couple years. Could he be the next Kawhi Leonard? We don't know about Kawhi's health. He doesn't want to be here. No, we made the conference finals last year. Let's not do that, and we have Kyrie coming back. And do we want to have a guy that can walk out? Okay, you should have done it. Paul George, well, he wants to be in L.A. We're not going to be able to convince him. Let's not do that. We like our assets. And then Paul George stays in Oklahoma City. Anthony Davis, his agent has publicly said, never Boston. We'll go there, fulfill the contract obligations, and leave. Jayson Tatum has shown upside, so let's not do that. At some point, though, you got to do something. And that's the problem with having to win every deal. The problem with not wanting there to be, you know what, this one's 50-50. It might blow up in our face, but we're going to roll the dice and go for it, is if you never roll the dice, you can never win the money. Now, you'll never crap out. You'll never go broke. You can just sit there and you can paddle along and stay at, it's not average, but stay in that little second to third tier. Never drop down to the worst tier, never get up to the top tier. That's where Boston is. And now that we are fully removed from the Nets trade, all those assets, all those chips have been cashed in. Okay, so what do they have? They have Tatum. They have Brown. They've got 3 first-round picks this year. None of them that valuable. 14, 20, and 22. One great asset moving forward. The Memphis pick either next year, if it's not in the top 6, if it is, and then, or the year after that, unprotected. That's it. How many teams across the league have guys they know are better than the Celtics' best guy? I know the Sixers do. I know Milwaukee does. We know a handful of teams out west. After free agency, the Nets might, the Knicks might.
Yeah.
That's where you find yourselves now, Boston. If you'll never take a risk, you can never win big. They thought they had it. They thought that Nets trade was going to be their cure-all, and it hasn't been. It's been their cure-all to getting good, but never getting great, and this ensures that that will remain the same.
I'm about taking a risk, but it wouldn't have been this risk. I wouldn't have traded for Anthony Davis if I was them. I mean, Rich Paul and them made it clear. And what's happened to Boston over the last couple of years, one they could control, the other one they couldn't control. Gordon Hayward, his injury, they couldn't control that. If Gordon Hayward was healthy, I do believe that Kyrie Irving's 2 years there do go a little bit different. And then they're in a position, because the Kyrie experiment, it failed, which in turn shut out everything with getting Anthony Davis. Because Anthony Davis and Kyrie have had discussions about playing together, but none of them were about playing for the Celtics. And that's an indictment when you have one of your players saying, I'm trying to get with you somewhere else, that being either with the Lakers, that being in Brooklyn, in New York, but not coming to the place that I have been, because I got intel, and you're better off, your career is better off not coming here. So for me, Danny Ainge, he wasn't going to win this. There was no comparison. Even if you put Tatum in the deal, they did not have what the Lakers had. And ultimately, in this player movement, player empowerment, if a guy says he don't want to be somewhere, you better be careful in trading for him. I know people say, oh, Paul George worked out. That was an individual situation. We'll see at the beginning of July if the Kawhi thing worked out for them long term, but they got a championship out of it. So I would say one team won. Right now we're waiting to see with Kawhi. But that renting a player for a year is still a big, big risk. And I'm with Danny Ainge as far as I wouldn't have taken that risk in this deal.
But there's two other just small points. One is it's not only not trading for Paul George, or almost doing it, or almost trading for Jimmy Butler, or almost trading for Boogie Cousins. It's what did we see? We saw the Sixers last year during buyout season go out, upgrade their team. We saw Milwaukee upgrade their team during the year. We saw the champs, Toronto, go get Marc Gasol. We see teams during the year say, you know what? We are going to trade away either young, talented players. By the way, some of those young, talented players become less valuable once they play more and people see what they actually are. And then there's one team that stands pat. But the other element is, and where it really all did go sideways, was with Kyrie. And this is why I was hammering this point all year of what a disaster this season could be for Boston. Because if the season ended in disappointment, it did. And it ended in Kyrie leaving, it will. Then you are out of the Anthony Davis game. Because if Kyrie is about to sign an extension, then you do trade Tatum for Anthony Davis.
Yes.
Then you do risk it. Because then you have two of the guys that really matter in this league.
We're saying the same things we're saying about the Lakers.
Exactly right.
So where is Boston left now? What's the next? Is there a big name that's going to come through Boston? When did Boston not become a big free agent destination?
I'm not sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was talking to someone about this the other day. Al Horford, when he decided to go to Boston,
the first guy to choose to go to Boston in 40 years.
Yeah, like they have not ever really been a free agent destination. They're a team in an organization that's always drafted well. They've made good so their players that they've acquired that have put them to the point of where they're at have not come through free agent decisions. And so that's where, I don't know, I mean, Al Horford has not opted into his player option, although the common thought is that he's going to renegotiate a new deal with Boston. But you're left with a lot of the pieces that we saw this past year. And so I'm not sure where
Danny Ainge needs about half the general managers to be like Kevin McHale and make that deal real sweet for him. Like some sweet and low sweet for him. Like, let me help out my
Kevin
Celtics
Garnett,
and my homeboy.
Exactly
yes.
Right. I mean, listen, where is Boston? The same place they've been since Bird's back went out, except for the Ray Allen, Pierce, KG mini window. Good, but not great. Very rarely tank, never compete for championships. And the one time they made a move that made them like that, the other GM on the other side just happened to be a guy who Danny Ainge used to pour champagne on after winning titles. I'm not saying those are correlated, but it's really interesting.
And they've got they can be good, and they've still got a great. But look at where other teams in the East are and may be going to. So that's more the factor.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.